Hey, what's happening, guys? Dan Darrow here with another Options and Play video update. We are actually today we're halfway through May, and we are well past the halfway point of earnings. Um, but now we're getting into kind of an interesting stretch because we have retail coming up, some Chinese names, some China tech names. Also, there are still a handful of other tech reports too, especially this week. Some like bigger, higher beta names. So still plenty to look forward to. Monday before the open, SE. Um, so not a name I trade too often, but it does seem like things are pretty well lined up for this company. Mobile, online gaming, plus e-commerce company, right? Stock been on a real strong run to earnings, but if numbers are a blowout, I mean it could keep momentum going, kind of like what JD um, was like on today, so Friday. Definitely more speculative, but could be worth looking at for a bullish idea. They're looking for about 7.5 points on that one. After the close on Monday, Baidu. So about 9 points is what's priced in. I'm in more of like a wait and see mode on Baidu. Stock has been kind of lifeless down here, hanging in a tight range right around 100. Option pricing, not terrible, but it's also not cheap. I think I need to pick a direction on this if I was going to play it, and I just really don't have a whole lot of conviction on it, so I might leave that one alone. Billy, another Chinese name. 525 is what's priced in. Those are monthly options, though, so a lot of time value there. One of the strongest Chinese stocks at the moment, right at its 52-week high. Um, I mean, it looks set up well for higher prices. I've never really traded this one, but it could be worth a look, especially if numbers are good. Maybe get like extension higher through like this 30 recent resistance range. But it's had a big run, and expectations might be high, but it does look set up pretty well for higher prices to me. Tuesday before the open, Home Depot. So 14 points is what's expected, and now we're getting into the retail reports. So Home Depot has come all the way back, which is pretty remarkable because it's not exactly named like Walmart or Costco, right? Home Depot, though, has a history of weak responses to earnings, and this huge rebound definitely makes me more cautious on this one. Um, it's either a void or potentially something bearish, is how I'd be looking at Home Depot. Walmart, another big retail name, 7 points is what's priced in. They've given some numbers over the last like month and a half, so um, I don't I don't really know what to expect here. So this will be like obviously like the first official report, but I just don't know how much is priced in, right? Like that's the big question mark. Expectations are going to be very, very, very high, but it also has been one of the best names in the retail sector. This might be in the speculative bullish category, but I'm like really undecided on this, especially because like the last couple quarters have not been great from like a movement point of view. Kohl's, so another retailer. So they're looking for about 2.5 points. Chart is very weak, and stock has been kind of lifeless now down here for over a month. I'm sure expectations are very low, and Dillard's is rallying today after really not anything special earnings. So I'd say like to me it's probably an avoid, or maybe I'll look for like a swing trade if it can get up through like 20, clear some of this lower resistance. But in terms of like an earnings trade, I might just leave that one alone. After the bell on Tuesday, NetEase, another Chinese name, about 22 to 23 points is what they're looking for. Um, I haven't traded this in a long time, and I will say it does look pretty good. It's right at its 52-week high, and I feel like it should be one of those beneficiaries of all people stuck at home, right? Playing like gaming. Option pricing at 32 to 33 seems pretty high just based off what it typically moves. I mean, there have been some quarters where it's had really big moves, but it hasn't been ultra consistent. So at 32 to 33, like it seems like it might be kind of tough, just from like a strictly like option pricing perspective. But I mean, it does look set up very well. It's kind of like Billy, like right at 52-week high. Seems like it wants to go higher too. Wednesday before the open, analog devices. So this will be the first of two big semi reports this week. 6.5 points is what's priced in. So this, along with Texas Instruments, kind of like two trade together. Just been spinning around in like a lower range. It does seem to have like a lower bar versus some of the other chip stocks, but it may need like a surprisingly strong quarter to get it up through the 200-day, which seems to be kind of like a tough area of resistance. I mean, you could look at it maybe as like a speculative bullish idea, but for me, it's probably going to be more of like a game time decision. Lowe's, so another big retailer, 925. That's what's priced in. Kind of similar to Home Depot, had a real big recovery, but not quite as much as Home Depot. The way this goes though is that Home Depot is going to report first, so Lowe's is definitely going to react to that. So I feel like the plan is you either need to play Home Depot because that'll be first, or possibly go the opposite direction on Lowe's because the two are pretty correlated, right? Like you would think their business is pretty correlated, but they can actually sometimes have very different quarters. So that's kind of how I play Lowe's typically, especially if it's after Home Depot. Then Target, another big one. 9 points is what's priced in. Walmart numbers definitely going to set the tone for Target, but Target's actually already guided for the quarter, so I'm not sure how much of a move to expect. Stock has had a really nice rebound recently, but the last sales earnings update wasn't treated positively, and the last earnings was actually pretty disappointing. Stock got hit real hard, so the option pricing seems too high to me. So I'm definitely more cautious on this one from like a trade perspective. After the close on Wednesday, Expedia. So 6.5 points is what's priced in. Booking just reported a couple weeks ago, and it barely did anything. Expedia, kind of a similar pattern at the moment. These type of stocks, like these travel-related stocks, seem to be getting kind of like a free pass on bad numbers. But at the same time, they also don't rally either, so it's kind of like a tough setup. Probably just going to leave that one alone. Why? There we go. So 525 is what's priced in. I thought this was setting up pretty well recently for breakout when it was above the 200-day, but it kind of rolled over. Still kind of like a same idea, but it's like off those higher levels. I mean, I think if it could put together a solid quarter, it could really have some nice upside potential. But again, I mean, it like whereas before it was above the 200-day, now it's below it, so it needs to go basically what it's pricing in just to get back to the 200-day. So it's got more work to do, but I might look at something more speculative on the bull side on that one. Take Two. So real interesting looking chart you can see here. Gaming stock, 12.5 points is what's priced in. Activision popped, EA dropped. So what does Take Two do, right? It's right underneath 52-week high. I mean, it could be like kind of like an explosive pattern if the numbers are good. I mean, like this, like Activision, EA, they all look like they want to go higher, but the big question is, how high are expectations on Take Two, and is it worth laying out the money for earnings, right? Because, I mean, at 12.5 points, it's going to need a real substantial move higher. It could actually be one of those setups where it's more interesting from like a calendar spread perspective. Before the open on Thursday, Best Buy. So 7 points is what's priced in. I think this is one of the more interesting retail setups for the week. Ooh, excuse me. They haven't guided yet, so that definitely makes things a little bit more interesting. Also, the stock has had a relatively large rebound, but I don't really know what the state of their business has been, right? Option pricing isn't cheap, but it seems like if there was going to be a quarter where this could have like a bigger move, this might be it. So maybe like a volatility strategy actually on this one, but I think I might want to get risk down on the other side. TJX, another retailer. So 6 points is what's priced in on this. Those are monthly options though. Sometimes I play this one, but also the way this week is going to play out, it could actually set up an opportunity for a sympathy trade on either Ross Stores or Burlington, right? Like those two other like off-price retail names, because neither of those two report, and they definitely should respond to the TJX numbers. This is the first off-price report too, so definitely some more uncertainty there. And you could see like a bigger swing just because it is the first one. So probably gonna look at a trade on one of those three. I've traded Burlington a bunch in the past. I have some familiarity with that. Maybe I'll look at Burlington, but I mean, it is like kind of like an interesting group for me. After the close on Thursday, big tech night. So Intuit. So a couple software names and then Nvidia. So Intuit, 15 points is what's priced in. I'd say of the three software reports that night, this one might be the one I'm least interested in. Chart does look good, but the stock typically not a huge mover on earnings. So option pricing looks a little bit high, but because it's Thursday after the close, those option prices might come down before then. So I'll kind of keep an eye on what they're looking at there. But you know, it doesn't seem to have like the explosive potential like a Splunk or a Palo Alto, which I'm gonna talk about in a second. So PANW 19 points is what they're pricing in. So this has had three big earnings moves in a row. Seems set up for another one this quarter. Last couple quarters got whacked. Still has a gap above, way off its low. I feel like this one's set up for like a volatility strategy. I feel like it leaves room. The options pricing leaves room on either side, especially if those come down later in the week. And then Splunk. So 16 points was priced in. Software peers, Datadog, New Relic, both popped on good results this week. This week. So kind of ups the bar for Splunk. Stock is still off its high though, and it does have a history of bigger swings on earnings. Again, like I think that the option pricing leaves a little room either direction. So if I can get risk down, it might be one I look at as a volatility strategy, or maybe something slightly more favoring the bull side. And then another big one here, Nvidia. So 28, 29 points, kind of in that ballpark is what they're pricing in. This seems very, very overheated into earnings. It's the only chip stock right now that's at a 52-week high. And peers, AMD and Intel are both hanging in lower ranges. Pricing is pretty high right now. And I don't know if it's going to come down or not. I feel like either way, I might be avoiding this one. For the open Friday, big boy, BABA, 12.5 points is what's priced in on this. And I actually think this is going to be one of the more interesting setups, in addition to being like the biggest name. It's really been lagging substantially, and this will kind of be like a chance to reverse that. I mean, JD 52-week, actually JD all-time high, BABA well off there. It's 52-week high. I feel like the option pricing is just really underestimating the potential move here. And especially if that comes down later in the week, I feel like it has more room higher versus lower, but I also feel like the option prices leave room on either direction. So volatility strategy might be what I look at on that. Deere. So kind of like the lone industrial report of the week. 8 points is what's priced in. It had actually a surprisingly strong report in February. It's beat and raise. But then it collapsed with the market, and I can't imagine like this quarter is going to be as strong. Still though, might be like a better name to look at as like a bounce candidate, especially if like the numbers are decent, because last quarter actually was pretty solid. I don't trade it often though, so personally I might just see what they say and then maybe look at it for like a swing trade if anything after the numbers come out. And then last is Foot Locker, 375 to what priced in. Typically, this is a real decent mover on earnings. Like this was one I would look at for like volatility straddle, like a strangle straddle for a while on earnings, because it was like super consistent mover. But that pattern is starting to break. The last couple quarters have been less eventful from like a movement perspective. It is in kind of like a tighter range above 20. But like a lot of these other retailers, with so many stores shut down, I just don't know if there's going to be a huge swing this quarter on earnings. So I might just end up leaving that one alone. And that's it. So you can see a lot of retail, a lot of China tech, actually a lot of kind of higher profile, just straight up tech reports too. So still plenty to look forward to. All right. So if you like these videos and you're looking for more option trade ideas, more earning trade ideas, please follow up with the link in the description of the video for more information on options and play. I hope you guys have a safe weekend, have a healthy weekend, and I will talk to you all on Monday.